Call the meeting to order of the East Lyme Board of Finance special meeting for Thursday, May 21st. All those who are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Maybe before we start, I'll just mention, if anybody's watching at home, we do have voting today on the town referendum for the 26-27 budget over at the community center. That goes until 8 o'clock tonight. I would just encourage anybody who has not voted yet to do so. All right, delegations. Any members of the public wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of minutes. So we have...
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, there's someone who looks like they need to be admitted to the room.
That's Sandra.
Sure, jack of all trades.
Oh, okay.
Okay, great. So for the minutes, unless people have significant or any changes to the minutes, because we have 9 sets, I thought we would do this in 3 votes. So the March 30th, March 31st, April 6th, April 8th, and April 23rd, and April 27th public hearing, and May 4th. Are there any corrections, additions, changes to any of those minutes? I have left off 2 sets of minutes for which I know there are corrections. Okay, hearing none, I entertain a motion that we approve the minutes as submitted for March 30th, March 31st, April 6th, April 8th, the April 23rd public hearing, the April 27th public hearing, and the May 4th regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving all of those minutes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I think I have to technically abstain, don't I, from if I missed a meeting?
As long as you read them.
As long as you read them?
As long as you read them, you're
All right,
okay.
thank you.
All right, so now there are 2 sets of minutes for which I know there are corrections. Let's talk about the April 20th meeting minutes. Rich, you wanted to clarify a vote.
Yes, there was a vote on the library funding that the minutes recorded as 4-1, but I was abstaining on that vote, so it should be 4-0-1. Lauren McNamara was not here, and that's why we have 5 votes rather than
Right.
6.
That was my mistake because I did not call for abstentions on that particular vote. So we would be amending the April 20th meeting minutes to reflect that the library funding item did pass by a vote of 4-0-1, not 4-1. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Then all those in favor of approving the minutes from April 20th meeting as amended, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes 5-0. And then finally, the April 27th, not the public hearing, but the regular board meeting that was held after the public hearing. Again, Rich, I think you have a adjustment to suggest.
Yes, in that one, there was a vote, let's see, was
You sent us an email about this a couple nights ago.
Yeah. forgetting which vote it was, but it was listed as 3-2-1, and it had noted Sandra as being abstaining when she had voted against, and I think that was for the return of the funding to the schools that was proposed by Kim.
I want to be really clear on this, so I want to just make sure we get your motion correct. You sent it. Do you want to just say it out loud what you wrote to us?
Let's see. I'm trying to see which email it was.
I know it's on my laptop.
Stand by. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Do you want to make sure we get this right?
This is April 27th.
Yeah.
Don't you think you might send your personal? Because I just searched the R Steel and don't see it.
Yeah, I'm not finding it in mine.
It must be the school funding, the return of the dollars that Kim had suggested to come out of
All right, so
the fund balance that got transferred into cash capital.
all right, so I propose, so that we get it right, and let's table this until later in the meeting,
Okay.
when we can try to get this sorted out. So we're in the section where we're supposed to be approving all of the minutes from the March 30th through May 4th meetings. I entertain a motion that we table the approval of the April 27th regular meeting minutes until later in this meeting, so that we can get this clarified.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to table?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor of tabling the motion to approve the April 27th regular meeting minutes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we will come back to that once we have the information that we need
Rich,
later in the meeting.
it was the text message.
The text message.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
It's about that.
So we have now approved all of the minutes that we can apart from that April 27th meeting. We are going to move on to reports. There is a public discussion section coming up later in the meeting after new business. Next, reports. First Selectman, Dan.
Yes, thank you. And I will ask to be excused after my report. I do have another place I'm supposed to be a little bit later on. So. But the good news is that both the firefighters' bargaining agreement and the dispatchers' bargaining agreement were ratified by the unions, and then last night I was given authorization to sign both of those contracts by the Board of Selectmen. There is an executive summary of both contracts as part of your packet, but the high points for both contracts is that the general wage increase was 3%, and these were 3-year contracts. And the other good news was on the firefighters contract, we had long discussions about the Saturday double time. They did agree to time and a half on Saturday, which is significant and will certainly help us to manage our overtime budget, and particularly if we're successful tonight with the budget, and if we can hire the 3 additional firefighters, that will allow us to manage the overtime even more significantly. So that's all good news. I'm happy to report that. And we are now, finally, we have 1 contract left to negotiate, and we're working diligently on the police contract. So 2 down, 1 to go. A couple of other things. A slightly lighter note. Yesterday, I attended a rehearsal for, we're having a millstone plume scenario in June, and yesterday was the rehearsal for it, and everybody, state of Connecticut, fire service, police, we were all on board, and we were at the Emergency Management Center, and it went very smoothly, and we picked up a few things. Oddly enough, it was from 9 o'clock till about 12 o'clock, and at about 11 o'clock, Air Force One flew right over Niantic through the plume. So, but there were no ill effects, so just what are the chances? And that was on flight radar. And but at any rate, we proceeded with that. The I-95-161 project, I attend the weekly meetings, and they are moving along. I think it'll be done. The goal is November 2026, and they're a little bit ahead of schedule. The important part for the Board of Finance is that there will not be any more bifurcating the town response for the fire service, where in the past there were times when they actually had to stop traffic completely underneath the bridge, and so we had to have really 2 completely different fire response capabilities on north and south, which was more overtime. But that phase is completely done, so there will not be any other times when we have to have overtime for that purpose. And they're on target. And on a side note, I attended the 90th birthday celebration for George Mitchell, and I was invited to that, and Tuesday morning?
Tuesday morning.
90 years. He was a pilot for Pan Am, and was a helicopter pilot, Top Gun graduate back in the day. So anyhow, that's my report for tonight, and with your permission, I'd like to be excused. Thank you very much.
Any questions, comments for Dan before he leaves?
Great job on the contract.
Thank you. Yeah, it was good for all, and I think it's very fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Finance Director report. Kevin.
All right. So sorry.
Kevin Gervais is the Finance Director to our correspondent online, and he's about to speak.
I'm also the cameraman right now.
He's also the cameraman. This is how we save money.
So Luke, I'll be right with you. All right, so starting off, rate in order if everyone has their packets. First up is the tax collector's reports. I do have 2 reports there. So Sandy, if you're watching online, I just emailed over earlier, about an hour ago probably, the full packet. Nice 1 PDF for you. So you just want to scroll through there. Page 1, and it's also online for Luke and anyone else at home. It's under board materials, under the Board of Finance page. So what we're looking at right now is balance sheet by year. We're looking comparatively year over year how we've been collecting taxes. Last year we collected 99.01%. Year to date right now we're at 99.04, so we are 3 basis points ahead of where we were collecting last year. So nothing really exciting there. The second report was just showing the Board of Finance collections over the last 3 years. And this isn't a look back, this is cumulative, right? So in the 2022 grand list year, you can see we collected 99.86%. the 2023 grand list year, we've collected 99.75%, and this current year we're at 99.53. So every year, you collect a little more as people go to register cars or sell their house, things like that. Bills get squared up then. All right, next report. Fund balance projection. Nothing has changed from the last time this has been presented to the board. But just to give everyone an update, we're hovering between the 16 and 17%. We're currently over the 17% right now, but that is because we haven't used the fund balance for this current year. I do anticipate using $1 million, but we'll do that at year end when we see what all the revenues have come in at and see what we have to use for that. Next report, opiate settlement funds. So this report is run as of today. So far, we've collected approximately $200,000 worth of revenue. We've spent approximately $27,653. This is inclusive. That $27,000 is inclusive of about $10,600 for the bikes for opiate settlement funds that were approved just in the last month, which leaves us $172,000 in this fund, right? In this grant. Every year we spend some of this down. Part of that $27,000 for this current year is to fund additional hours for the wellness prevention coordinator, I think it is, or the case manager, or one of those positions over in the youth family services. Any questions on this one? And so you can see what this does. Walmart and some of these other large, companies have already agreed to amounts, and so we know what we're going to get from now until 2039. So currently we're sitting on $172,000 worth of fund balance. If we spend nothing next year, we're going to get another $32,000, and it just kind of builds like that, right? So next report, the cannabis. I don't know what's happened the last two months here, but cannabis sales have really picked up in town. We were averaging between 150 and 160,000. We're pushing over 200,000 now in recreational marijuana. So, so now we're collecting just shy of over $6,000 a month. We already previously allocated $25,000, so that leaves $39,525 available in cannabis funds. Just keep that all in mind. All right.
We were heavy in the budget negotiations during that particular 2-month phase. Whether that has anything to do with this?
I totally forgot. It was
I
budget
don't know.
season. That would explain the $50,000 increase in marijuana sales.
Garrett thought it was the Iran war.
It's something. I don't know. But okay, next up, it wasn't originally included in the agenda, but we'll add it and it'll be on the website. Executive summaries for the approved IAFF, the firefighter contract, as well as the dispatch contract. Last night, the Board of Selectmen ratified and approved both of these contracts. High level, we'll go over the IAFF one first. 3% increase for the 3 years of the contract. A little broader description of the captain position that has been included. The big piece here on the town side is Saturdays. So in the prior contract, Saturdays were double time. So when you have 4 firemen on a Saturday, you're actually paying for essentially 8 firemen because it's a time and a half, double time. With this new contract negotiation, the union agreed to go down to time and a half for that Saturday shift. As you can imagine, that's a huge savings for the town. It's essentially 2 firemen on every Saturday that we're saving, right? So instead of paying for the equivalent of 8 firemen, those 4 now will be equivalent of 6. So that's 2 firemen. It's quite a bit of savings. It's kind of a also health insurance increased their portion that they pay, and so it's kind of a give and take when you do union negotiations. For the firefighters that are in the defined contribution plan, right? So there's one individual that's still in the defined benefit pension plan. The rest of those firefighters are now in a 401 style defined contribution plan. As part of that, we've increased inclusion of overtime. So with this, we're including up to $20,000 of overtime towards their retirement. Previously, there was no retirement benefit for that overtime portion. So now $20,000 per firefighter, it will now be eligible for overtime benefits. if that makes sense. Additionally, prior to the last couple of years, there wasn't really a unified East Lyme Fire Service. That's now kind of been centralized. As such, as part of the negotiation, each firefighter will have $1,000 for reimbursements for a Class A uniform, so they can, for funerals and different events and things like that, they'll have a Class A uniform. They also agreed to go to biweekly payroll. This was a good contract on both sides. So does anyone have any questions with regards to the IAFF contract?
Can I just ask for clarification on the 20,000 for overtime? So does East Lyme match a percentage of the individual? I'm looking for that actual calculation. Do you know?
I believe it's 6%. I believe they pay 3 and we pay 6. I believe that's what the number is, 3 and 6.
And so the 20,000 of overtime income.
Eligible earnings towards overtime. So the $20,000 is essentially a $1,200 retirement benefit.
That East Lyme would pay in.
Correct, and because only their base wages, similar to most of the contracts in town, just the base wages count towards retirement. The one individual in the defined benefit plan in the firefighters union has $22,000 included of overtime earnings in his pension number.
I see. Okay.
So, and now the defined contribution piece will have $20,000 eligible. If they earn $20,000 of overtime, right? So, that'll clarify it.
Yes, thank you.
Next contract is the dispatch union contract. 3% for the 3 years of this contract, increased health insurance cost share as well as dental cost share, and this union also agreed to switch from a defined benefit plan to a defined contribution plan as of July 1st, 2026. Similar wording to the UPSU contract we switched last year. The employees will pay 3% and the town will match 6%. Besides that, there was a slight increase in shift differentials for them. Second shift, I think, went from, I don't know what it went from, but it's 60 cents an hour for second shift and 80 cents an hour for third shift. So they all make the same exact, there's only 2 shifts. There's a probationary rate, and then once you complete probationary rate, so if you're working at night, you get that shift diff to make the difference up there. Any questions on that one?
Kevin, have you had time to model the financial impact of these 2 agreements? Yes. Well, because we have to, so these contracts, we have to back these into that salary contingency amount, right? And so as we were kind of playing with that and that was getting shaved down, so 2 of these 3 have been resolved. So we have 1 more union contract to go, still the police union contract. So yeah, we work with our town's labor attorney, model this out, the cost impact for the life of this plan. So on this aspect, the cost savings, we still have to work with our actuary to see what the savings is on the pension piece of it. But the salary figures and things like that have been modeled out. Okay.
All right, let me just find my agenda. Last topic, as part of the audit, there is required correspondence that the auditors provide. It is attached in this SAS letter from CLA, Clifton Larson Allen, our auditors. So if you want to go through this, if you have any questions, I can provide our auditors' contact info. Actually, Mr. Popham and Leslie were CC'd on this initial email that you guys had.
So is there anything
required supplemental communications
that should be communicated broadly in this letter? Or just putting in the public record is good enough?
My task was to bring it to the board and have it included in the meeting minutes and make sure the board was apprised of this. I imagine once the audit gets finalized, the partner or the principal will come down and meet with the board and go over the findings.
So this is really just an administrative matter to make us aware of the ongoing audit for fiscal year ending 2024 June.
Correct. And I know our auditor watches these calls, so if there's anything he'd like to include, he can reply all to that email from a couple weeks ago.
Great. Any questions, comments for any of the items that Kevin mentioned in his finance director report?
So I guess my one question, I'm not familiar with town audit reports like this, but in my professional life, when there's an audit opinion, like there's an actual opinion and there might be like management actions that
Mhm.
have to be taken.
We'll have management reports, management letters, recommended findings, recommendations to solve the findings. Is that kind of the
Yeah,
next step? Yeah, that's all coming.
that's
This
all
is
coming.
Oh, that's all coming. Yeah, this is just the preliminary. We're working on the audit. Here's your first bite, and I imagine the next meeting you'll have a draft, and then the
Okay.
following meeting we'll probably have a meeting with the auditors. It'll probably be even a special meeting,
Okay,
just so that'll be its own topic probably.
perfect. So this is more of like a status update.
I don't think it's that. I just think it's statutory required correspondence to the board.
Okay.
They
Fair
inform
enough.
us they're doing what we asked them to do.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And with that, I don't have anything, and I actually messed up the order. Alex, you're before me. The Mostaway land is
Must. All right, so we're going on to new business. First item is some correspondence we received about a land acquirement on Mostowie Road. You want to state your name and
Yes, good evening, everybody. Alex Close, Deputy Public Works Director and Acting Town Engineer for the Town of East Lyme. Good to see you all today. So the situation here, and I did prepare a cover letter and a drawing I hope you received, but this has already been reviewed by Town Council, and it's already gone to the Planning Commission and been accepted under an 824 as a public improvement, and so the next step is Board of Finance. But Mostaway Road, which intersects, there's a southerly and northerly intersection off of Route 161, Chesterfield Road, if you're familiar with it. When you come up Mostaway Road, you actually traverse over a dam for Darrow's Pond. The road itself is built on top of an earthen dam. And the town owns the property that is the pond itself and a majority of the property that is the dam infrastructure and the road on top of it. But we actually do not own the downslope portion of the dam and the end wall. There's an outlet structure that brings water from Darrow's Pond underneath the road and down into the wetland. And we don't own a lot of that slope and end wall structure that currently is under private ownership of 45 Mostaway Road. It's an undeveloped, currently undeveloped lot that's owned outright by Mr. Morton, or the Morton family here. And so they are willing to give it to us because they don't want the responsibility of being a partial owner of a dam. I've recently done an inspection of the dam. I've sent those findings to DEEP. Both the first selectman as well as the resident that owns a portion have both signed the inspection forms that went to DEEP, as we're joint owners currently. But the goal would be to reduce that burden from a resident and transfer the complete ownership, as most of it is already owned and maintained, to the town. And so what you have in front of you, as I understand it from reviewing with town attorney, is per the East Lyme Charter. It looks like section 3.3.15. Before I can bring this to the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance has to review this and make a motion, if they so choose, to accept this portion of 45 Mostaway Road that would essentially get carved out of that lot into a separate parcel that would then be owned by the town.
great.
I can answer any questions that you
Yeah,
may
let's
have.
put the motion into order first. The draft motion is attached. Does anybody want to move it? You want to say it out loud, please?
I moved pursuant to section 3.315 of the East Lyme Town Charter that the Board of Finance approve the proposed acceptance by the Board of Selectmen a gift of land on Mostowi Road and adjacent to the dam as presented by town staff.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Questions for Alex? Can you just describe whether this, what level of risk this might add to the town, and the acceptability of that risk?
Sure. The town is currently and has been for quite some time the registered owner of the dam. This was actually a discovery by the town that this portion was not in fact owned by us. So up until recently, when I made this discovery of the property line, we had already been acting under the assumption. So as far as our insurance is concerned, registers of the dam is registered under the town. We've been doing all of the inspections and repairs on the dam, and so there's really no change other than we assumed incorrectly that this portion of the property was also ours until we discovered that it wasn't, and so we're just rectifying that. So from a liability, caretaker, stewardship, and insurance standpoint, there's really no change, because we're just looking to make correct the assumptions that we've already made to this point.
Got it. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Other questions or comments for Alex?
Did the town originally pay for the dam? Did they pay to fund the building of the dam?
I don't know. It's
Okay.
been there for quite some time, so I'd have to look into that. And I don't know when the town acquired, if they did, all the portions of Darrow's Pond and, the construction of the road. I'm not sure. It was a long time ago.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, so the motion on the table is to approve the proposed acceptance by the Board of Selectmen, a gift of land on Mostowi Road adjacent to the dam as presented to us tonight. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you for your time.
Last item of new business is the operating budget transfers. I guess there is a sheet that Kevin shared with us. Kevin?
Sure, yeah, so what we have here, there's a little memo that goes along with the sheet. So what we're looking to do tonight is transfer $487,850 from these various accounts, which I'll explain in a second, to cover some budget overages and some challenging accounts we have, and then forward this to the town meeting. So going through the spreadsheet here, does everyone have a copy of this? Good, okay. So when we look on the left side, those are the accounts we're transferring from. Transferring to. The accounts on the right are what we're transferring from. So when you see that first section there, it says police, fire, general gov, finance, adds up to $200,000. All those accounts are UPSU. That's the United, I totally forgot what it stands for. The UPSU. It's the largest contract in the town. That was ratified June 30th, 2025. So that was ratified last fiscal year. We had that money set aside in the salary contingency, similar to what we did this year for the fire, dispatch, and police contracts. So what we have to do is move that money out of that salary contingency line and cover the overages, or not the overages, but the increased salaries for the UPSU employees, right? Because budgets were held flat year over year, just like we did with fire, police, and dispatch. So now we have to move the money into those funds to make them fully funded at year end. Going down a little further, there's $200. Conservation of Natural Resources is trying to purchase something. Youth Family Services, we moved some money there for health and dental insurance line. IT was moving $7,000 to purchase new computers from the Building Land Use Office. Police officer wages, since we have a few police officers that are out this year, we help. That was money to use to offset public safety legal fees. We moved $100,000 from town contingency to cover general government legal fees. Then we moved $50,000 from personnel contingency, the remaining piece to cover firefighter overtime. So with these, the accounts that are under the most strain, the accounts over to the left, for the most part, the public safety legal, general government legal, and firefighter overtime will be resolved with these transfers.
Thank you. So again, this is last year's budget. And
Current year budget.
yeah, forgive me, the current year budget that we're in, not the one that is being voted on in the town referendum today.
Correct.
And this is just to pay for costs from existing fund sources within the current budget. Is there a motion on the table? The motion needs to be that we approve the $487,850 for the fiscal year as presented to us.
So moved.
Actually, let's read it out. So it's you want to, it's
Sure, I
right
can
here.
do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion for the Board of Finance to approve the proposed departmental transfers in the amount of $487,850 for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026, as presented and forwarded to town meeting for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Moved and seconded. Discussion, please.
I have two questions for Kevin, and it's on that first section that's being funded by the union contract. It seems like two of the largest drivers are Public Works regular payroll, which I feel like when Joe presented, he talked about being like maybe one FTE down, or so I'm kind of curious about why the regular payroll Public Works variance, and then I'd like to also understand the variance for the pension.
Yep. So let me make sure. Okay, so so that pension line, this is coming from our system, so it really should say pension/retirement. So that account is where we remit to the pension, the ADAC payment, but that is also where the town pays for the portion of its retirement for the 401. So with the UPSU contract, we went from the full pension, someone sharing their screen. I don't know if it's you, Sandra, or you, Luke, but anyways, can't stop that. Hold on 1 second. So there was a piece of, sorry guys, I'm just trying to understand.
I don't think you can stop them. Can you stop them from sharing?
Sorry guys, hold on 1 second. This has happened to me before. I just want to, okay. So that $37,000 is to cover all new employees hired after July 125. So they're switched off the pension, and now we have to pay 6% into their retirement.
I see.
So that's what that is for. And then just the regular payroll, the Public Works. Public Works in the last contract didn't go up just 3%. Public Works employees were really below the market average for the most part, so they got a disproportionate portion of that union contract. They went up, 6 to 10% for some of those guys instead of 3%.
Okay.
So that's why there's a little disproportionate, between maintenance and the grounds crew. So UPSU is made up of two. It's really the administrator union, like everyone in town hall, park and rec, but it's also made up of all the Public Works highway crew. So that's half of the union roughly.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Kevin or discussion on this? Okay, moved and seconded that the Board of Finance approve proposed departmental transfers in the amount of $487,850 for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2026, as presented to us. All those in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries 5-0. All right, that is it for new business. I do want to get back to our meeting minutes from April 27th, 2026, the late meeting that we had. Rich, are you prepared?
Yeah, it did turn out to be the motion to restore funding to the schools that came out of the fund balance through payment to the cash capital, and it was a vote that was 3 to 2 to 1, and it had the minutes had mislabeled that Sandra had abstained, where it was me that had abstained and Sandra had voted no with Barry.
Okay. So you are suggesting to amend the minutes from the April 27th, 2026 meeting to reflect that the vote that is currently 3 yes, 2 nay, 1 abstention regarding moving $362,000 and change to the Board of Ed should reflect that you were the abstention and not Sandra.
Right,
That is the amendment.
right.
Okay. I need you to, someone to move that. Just say so moved, maybe.
So moved.
Thank you. And is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded that we amend the minutes of the April 27th, 2026 regular Board of Finance meeting as we've just described to reflect that Sandra voted no and Rich voted as abstention. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended from April 27th, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries 5-0-0. All right, now we are finished with all of our business work. We're in the public discussion section, and I believe there's somebody online who wishes to ask a question or make a comment. He seems eager to make a comment. He's been making multiple messages. I think I'm willing to give him another minute or so.
Luke, are you there? Oh, can you ask me to unmute? Sorry.
Look, I need you to come on camera, ideally. Give us your name and address, please.
Luke, are you there? Oops, sorry, Sandy.
There he is.
Look, we see a video of you. We don't see. Are you able to speak, Luke? You're off mute now, according to us. You should be able to speak, and we can see you. So look, we're not hearing you at all. So Luke, I do want to give you a chance to make your comment, but for some reason we're having a technical problem that you cannot. So may I request kindly that you submit it
Yeah, here he goes.
as an email? You can type a question in the chat. We can't answer questions. We can only allow you to make a comment. All right, well, so Luke, I recommend you either submit your question as an email directly to Kevin or myself through the town website. Be glad to forward it to the other members of the Board of Finance. And if there's something that we can help with at answering a question, we certainly will. You're also welcome to come to our next meeting, which I believe is June the 10th at 5:30 p.m. here at Town Hall. All right, let's move on to board comments. I do want to say that right now, once again, the vote is going on the town referendum. Those of you who have not voted certainly can get to the community center before 8 o'clock to vote on the town referendum on the 26-27 budget. That would be great. Depending on the results of the vote, we will likely have a meeting next week. If the vote is yes in favor of the proposed budget, we do need to come together briefly to approve the new mill rate. If the vote is no in the town referendum, then we do need to come together to begin more deliberations. We should know later tonight on the town referendum results. Any other board comments?
You go first.
Oh, okay. Yes, I've got a comment, and I know that we as members of the Board of Finance do not make policy, but I would like to pass along a suggestion to the Board of Selectmen for the future. In the aftermath of our budget season and hearing the plight of some of our seniors, is there any mechanism to change or modify our senior taxation? This I had also shared with Diane in the assessor's office and with Kevin. For example, could a senior with age 65 and 10 years of residency and a much higher income allowance have a much higher income allowance than the current, perhaps raising it to $75,000 or $100,000 or whatever is felt reasonable? Another thing is perhaps capping tax rates when people reach age 70 with said income stipulations. Checking the incomes for East Lyme resulted in the following: that the median household is $105,044. The per capita income is $59,442, and the average household income is $138,289. It just seems as though we heard from numerous individuals, and I had heard from numerous individuals in the fall when I was knocking doors, that there should be or could be some modifications to how we relieve the tax burden for our seniors. And then onto another line is that we've struggled with town budgets. Each year it seems like it gets more and more difficult. And each year it seems like we spend a lot of time looking at a lot of different avenues for ways to reduce the burden of the budget. I'm thinking, instead of waiting until the fall to start looking at the budgets for the next year, is that we kind of take a lessons learned in the next few months, see what we could do better, how we can best expedite the process, and to look at ways to minimize future increases in the budget. Not eliminate them, but minimize them. And to this end, I think Kevin's been making pretty good use of ChatGPT for a lot of things. We've found out that Zoom will do some recording of minutes as well. But I also think that we should look at using some AI tools to try to help us assess strategies going forward and guide us a little bit more in our plans. Thank you.
Certainly a useful suggestion. Thank you. Barry?
I have a couple of suggestions. I mean, I just wrote these out for you guys to take a look at. As I got through this budget process, I had some time to sit back and offer a few reflections and suggestions. I started out by looking at, and Sandra, I sent you an email with these. Should be there, okay. I looked at a lot of as many other town budgets as I could to kind of see what other towns were doing, and came up with a few suggestions. And in line with what Rich was saying, to maybe we could be a little bit more proactive going forward. One idea that I came up from other budgets was to look through and set up a set of budget assumptions. You know, we can look at an inflation rate, we can look at our projected revenue, we can look at the collective bargaining agreements, and at the start, we could probably get a pretty good set of assumptions for what this next budget's going to look like, and using that, we could set a proactive limit as a starting point for discussions. Another thing that came up from the Colchester budget that I found really interesting was they set accountability and transparency for the budgets by having each department list a set of accomplishments they achieved using the taxes that they received last year, and then going forward a set of goals or objectives for what they would use the taxes for in the following year. And so this would set some ideas of, you know, accountability and transparency for the budgets going forward. From Clinton, I was really amazed at their budget because for not only did they include a budget summary by department, which we saw in our documents, but then they broke it down to each line item within that summary code to provide, this is the item and here's a rationale for that. And had we had something like this year, we would have avoided some mistakes like finding out beforehand, say that certain departments needed by law to attend continuing education programs. So it's a line-by-line justification. And I thought also that, you know, having served on the Capital Improvement Committee for a couple of years, there was continuing back and forth on what exactly was the definition of capital improvements. I knew that we had, on the committee, had circulated a couple of draft documents on that, but never really formalized them. So I think one of the other things we could do to, you know, going forward is to really, you know, get something out for a draft that, you know, specified what constituted a capital improvement. So anyway, these are just, you know, a set of items, and any other ideas that, you know, other board members have. I would suggest, if possible, that we put this as an item for new business at one of our next meetings to see if we can, you know, kind of start, you know, discussing these and maybe formalize them into our proactive budget process for next year. So.
Yeah, it's very reasonable. Maybe second half of the year we can put this in as a new business item, Kevin, and request that the departments look at the possibility of providing us this information that Barry is mentioning here. Sound okay? Thank you. Anything else, Barry?
That's fine, that's fine.
Yes.
Anything from you?
No.
Sandra, anything from you?
I'm good. I think they're very good comments, and I agree with both Barry and I didn't do that. I'm not screen sharing.
Great. All
That's
right.
not me.
If no further board comments, entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor of
You got
adjournment,
to move in, I second.
please say aye.
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 Any opposed? We're adjourned.